Today is going to be another review video, guys, and it is going to be a review of the Seers Trilogy by Rachelle Dekker. Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. I am here today to do a full-length review of the entire Seers Trilogy by Rachelle Dekker. So the Seers Trilogy by Rachelle Dekker consists of The Choosing, The Calling, and the third book that just came out, The Returning. As some of you may know, Rachelle Dekker is the daughter of a very famous Christian writer, Ted Dekker. I have never read any of Ted Dekker's stuff, really not stuff that is up my alley, so I'm probably not going to be reading any of his stuff anytime soon. But I really did enjoy some of the writing of his daughter, Rachelle Dekker. So if you're part of our Coffee Chapters and Christian YA book club, The Returning, or any books that you are currently on at this point in this trilogy, is our book club pick of the month. And the live show for our Seers Trilogy, for any books that you are currently in, it is going to be a spoiler-free live show, and it is going to take place on this channel on Monday, January 30th at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Same day, same time, come on down. You don't have to be finished any of these. You don't have to read all three of these. At any point that you are in this book, come on by. We will try and keep it spoiler-free as best as we can. So I read The Choosing back in 2015, and it was one of my favorite books of 2015. So the Seers Trilogy takes place in a dystopian futuristic world where, of course, the world has kind of been destroyed by disease and war, and this new authority city has kind of risen up to control and to guide the people. Now, within this authority city, there is this religious system set in place that takes a lot of what the Bible has said and really twisted it into this overbearing, legalistic, patriarchal system. In a system where women have to be groomed to be the perfect wives and the perfect mothers, and then they are forced to go to this choosing ceremony. Now, they only have value in their life if they are chosen from this choosing ceremony. If they are not chosen, then they are sent to live as a lint, is what they're called, on the edge of society. They're not allowed to get married, they're not allowed to have children, and they just have to work in these work camps, and they're not allowed to participate in regular society because they are deemed unworthy. We follow Carrington, who has just finished her first choosing ceremony and was not chosen. And she has no idea how she couldn't have been chosen, and she is sent to live as a lint. Now, in the background of Carrington's story, there is this whole political struggle of who's head of the council, who's the lead of the council, and all these council members who are trying to keep the society controlled and everything flowing like it should be. Meanwhile, the women who are called lints are being found washed up, murdered, and no one knows what is happening to these girls. So there is a CSI murder mystery kind of Criminal Minds thing going on in the background. There's a lot of political drama, and then you have the story of Carrington. Carrington feels worthless. She feels like she has no value because she wasn't chosen, and now she's on the edge of society. She might be getting a second chance at being chosen, but it might not be the second chance that she wants. So you meet a lot of really fantastic characters in this. You meet Remco, you meet some of her friends that I am really blanking on names for, but you meet a really fantastic cast of characters. The Chosen was really well written, and it was one of the few books that actually kept me up at night until I had to finish reading it and had to find out what happened. I really like the story of finding your self-worth and finding that you are valued and that you are chosen because you are valued, not valued because you are chosen, and it kind of did a twist on that. You also meet Aaron, who is this follower of God who tries to bring people back to the true meaning and the true words and teachings of God, not the twisted system that the world has created through that religion. So you meet Aaron, who kind of teaches Carrington of her value and of her worth as a child of God. I really like the writing, like I said. I really like the story, and I liked the characters, and I like that entire theme of your self-worth and your self-value. Overall, I gave The Choosing, the first book, a 5-star rating. In The Calling, you follow the perspective and you follow the story of Carrington and Remco from Remco's point of view. They are now outside of the city, and they're leading a rebellion against the authority city. A lot of things are changing in the authority city. A lot of the political systems are changing. They're getting rid of the entire patriarchal, legalistic religion completely and looking at other ways to control the populace. So a lot of those things and the political intrigue are changing within the Authority City. So Remco and Carrington join this group called the Seers, who are kind of fighting this little rebellion. So it's sometimes warfare, but mostly a silent rebellion of leading people out of the Authority City and into truth and into what the truth really is, and kind of bringing them freedom in that sense against the Authority City. So of course a lot of that political intrigue builds up and all those changes happen, but Remco is fighting within himself if he really is believing what the cause is that brought him out with the Seers with Carrington, or if he's just following along because he wants to be with Carrington. So he's kind of has that inner struggle of if he truly believes what they're all fighting for, and if he is truly bought into what all the rest of the Seers are bought in for. Overall, this book didn't flow as nicely as The Choosing did. It lost some of the intrigue for me, and also the Seers and Aaron started feeling very cultish. It didn't really have that feeling that they were following God. It almost felt like Aaron was the one that was being worshipped, or was kind of being the weird cult leader. It started becoming very strange for me, and I couldn't really pinpoint on what was bothering me, what they were talking about, and some of the words they were using were very... It really just sounded very cultish and very, we worship the light. It didn't really sound like they were following God or what the truths were, and it just kind of felt like they were throwing out phrases and verses that kind of matched the situation. So it was just a very disconjointed faith system that she was building that I just kind of felt confused and really felt like it was a cult following Aaron rather than following God and finding truth in God's word. I also found that there was a lot of stuff actually lacking salvation and what salvation actually meant, and salvation through Jesus Christ. All of that was completely missing, which felt very strange for me. So that's why a lot of this fell flat for me. Initially, I gave it a 4-star rating because I did still really enjoy her writing and I enjoyed her characters. But the more I think about it, especially now that I've read the third book, I would give The Calling a 3-star rating. The third book, The Returning, kept on that strange feeling of this feels very much like a cult. Carrington and Remco and the rest of the Seers move into a kind of a hidden city where everybody believes the same thing, and it was very beautiful, very utopian. Quite honestly, it would be nice to have a world where everybody did believe the same thing, but it just felt very strange to kind of wrap my mind around that. And again, it just started to feel very cultish for me, and there was a lot of things for some of the younger Seers. So the next generation of Seers are kind of moving into the city to bring everybody back to a return to the call of the Father. But it sounded really strange with a lot of mention of the light. It didn't really mention the Father, and there was a lot of kind of whispering of remember who you are, which felt very Lion King-ish to me. Like I couldn't help thinking of Mufasa whispering to Simba, remember who you are. And it just felt, again, very strange for me, very cultish, very just out there, and it didn't really have those solid biblical truths that I was kind of hoping for. And again, the whole salvation message of what really brings you to salvation was kind of missed in there, or I missed it. It didn't catch on to any of that. Overall, for The Returning, I gave it a 2.5 to a 3-star rating. The characters, again, were very fantastically written. The story overall was just very driven. The political intrigue, how the Authority City kind of took change from that patriarchal legalistic system to a completely different controlling chemical system, and how the council members switched. But overall, it just ended up being very strange on the faith elements for me that I just could not buy into. If you do like a lot of political intrigue, and with The Choosing you do also like a little bit of a murder mystery, then I still would recommend this series. But if you're looking for strong faith elements, I would say sadly this series kind of fell flat for me on that aspect of it. But Rachelle Dekker's writing is still very fascinating, and I would be curious to see of what she has writing in the future. Although I would definitely take a lot of her writing with a grain of salt and kind of sift through and kind of really determine what is truths in there, and maybe borderline probably shouldn't be mentioned or shouldn't be taken that way. So definitely take a lot of her writing with a little bit of a grain of salt. Overall, the Seers Trilogy, I would give all 3 of the books kind of a 3-star rating. Really good writing, really good plot, really good concept, just fell flat in a lot of other areas for me. So as you guys know, doing a negative book review is always struggling and always really scary to do, so I kind of set this one on the shelf. The series started off really strong with The Choosing. It was a fantastic book, a 5-star rating. The Calling, even though it kind of fell flat in other areas for me, was still one of my favorite books of 2016. And so The Choosing and The Calling were definitely two of my favorite books of previous years. The Returning, sadly, will not be on my favorite books of 2017. So I hope you guys are going to join us for the live show. Remember, you can join us no matter at what point of the book series you are at. You can join us with The Choosing, The Calling, or Returning, or if you're only halfway done The Calling, come and join us anyway. We're just going to discuss things of what we're finding through the book so far. We'd love to see some discussion from you guys as well, so remember to join us for January 30th at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you guys have any questions or comments about the Seers Trilogy, leave them in the comments below and I would love to chat with you guys or join us for the live show. As always guys, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!